You drop $1,299 on a piece of hardware engineered to automate your entire existence.
Studying a leaked 2026 style guide to hide the fact that a machine wrote your emails takes up the rest of your afternoon.
We are dissecting Samsung's Galaxy S26 Ultra launch materials alongside a strict 2026 writer's manifesto. The mission of this deep dive is mapping the irony of our current era. We paid a massive premium to embed algorithms into our pockets, while desperately trying to scrub their fingerprints off our human interactions.
Tracing this behavioral shift requires examining the physical glass and metal causing it. Samsung markets this device as an aggressive digital agent. The customized Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 processor sits at the center of the chassis, pushing performance metrics designed to dictate your relationship with the digital world.
Those performance metrics border on the absurd. Like, you get a 24% GPU boost, and then we hit this massive 39% neural processing unit boost dedicated exclusively to running constant background tasks. Explain what that NPU is actually doing while the phone sits idle on a desk.
Passing complex pattern recognition tasks to a standard CPU would drain the battery in an hour. A standard processor handles general mathematical calculations sequentially, while a neural processing unit mimics human brain architecture to process thousands of artificial intelligence tasks simultaneously. The 39% NPU boost allows the device to process contextual data locally without constantly pinging a cloud server. Matrix multiplication happens directly on the silicon in your pocket.
Wait, matrix multiplication. Keep it out of the textbook for a second. What is the NPU physically doing with my text messages?
Evaluating the contextual weight of every word simultaneously is its primary function. A standard processor reads word 1, word 2, word 3, and word 4. The NPU analyzes the entire sentence structure, the historical context of your previous chats, your current location, and your active calendar schedule all at once to generate automated actions.
So a 39% neural processing boost means your phone interrupts you faster to hand you a photo you took 3 years ago. The device reads the text from your boss and instantly checks if you are free on Tuesday at 3:00 p.m. That requires immense physical power. I equate this to an overeager assistant requiring a dedicated cooling system just to survive the physical exhaustion of organizing your PDFs.
Managing that extreme thermal load requires physical hardware intervention. Samsung redesigned the internal vapor chamber specifically to support this processor. A vapor chamber operates as a sealed vacuum filled with a tiny amount of specialized liquid. The NPU spikes to process your data, heating the silicon. That heat boils the liquid into a vapor. The vapor races through microscopic channels to cooler areas of the phone.
Wait, so the phone is literally boiling liquid to cool itself down because it insists on scanning a grocery list I downloaded 3 weeks ago.
Keeping the silicon from melting while features like Now Nudge scan your conversations is precisely what the hardware is doing. Now Nudge automatically suggests gallery photos based on the context of your chats. Now Brief reads your incoming messages to check your calendar for scheduling conflicts. The device requires a microscopic phase change cooling mechanism to prevent failure during this heavy, constant multitasking.
They embedded a supercomputer into a 9mm chassis. The camera hardware is equally aggressive. The 200-megapixel wide camera uses a wider f1.4 aperture. An f1.4 aperture means the physical hole letting light into the sensor opens drastically wider. The hardware physically opens its eye wider in the dark to pull in 47% more light. You get the APV professional video codec, and the Pro Scaler features sharpening text on the display. The screen's incredible while the processor overheats from reading your group chats.
Monitoring a user's schedule and conversations requires those massive hardware upgrades. This relentless internal surveillance creates immediate tension with the physical privacy features Samsung aggressively markets. Introducing the mobile industry's first built-in privacy display highlights the contradiction.
The display operates at the pixel level to control how light disperses. How does a screen physically block the person sitting next to me on the subway from reading my emails?
Traditional screens broadcast light photons in a wide arc. The built-in privacy display uses a microscopic directional filter layer positioned directly over the OLED pixels. They function like microscopic blinds on a window. Standing directly in front of the window gives you a clear view of the room. Activating the privacy feature alters the path of the light, channeling it strictly forward. Viewing the screen from a side angle reveals only black glass. It blocks out the screen from peripheral angles without compromising the direct viewing experience for the primary user.
Wow, okay, so you trigger partial screen privacy to hide notification pop-ups. You trigger maximum privacy protection for total discretion in crowded spaces. The device combines these physical visual barriers with heavy internal digital safeguards. The device incorporates the Knox matrix, the private album inside the gallery, the hardware bolt, and post-quantum cryptography for end-to-end encryption. You just threw out post-quantum cryptography. Explain why a smartphone needs encryption designed to defeat quantum computers.
Quantum computers operate on quantum bits, existing in multiple states simultaneously. The National Institute of Standards and Technology warns that a mature quantum computer could shatter our current RSA encryption standards in a matter of hours. Bad actors currently engage in harvest now, decrypt later attacks. They steal encrypted data today, intending to hold it until quantum computers exist to crack it. Post-quantum cryptography utilizes entirely new mathematical structures that even theoretical quantum computers cannot easily solve.
Post-quantum encryption on your device feels like putting a bank vault door on a cardboard box. We build a fortress with 10-foot walls to keep the subway passenger next to us from reading our screen, while simultaneously inviting the surveillance team into the master bedroom. Gemini reads the Gmail account to book a cab. The privacy display ensures the guy sitting next to you on the bus has no idea where you are going.
Integrating external agents like Gemini and Perplexity requires deep algorithmic access to applications to perform multi-step tasks. Booking a taxi via voice command requires the AI to read your current location, access your financial data, interface directly with the ride-sharing app, and confirm the transaction. The Knox Vault isolates sensitive passwords inside secure hardware. The user must actively grant permissions to the AI to gain the benefits of those automated tasks.
The post-quantum cryptography protects your flight confirmation email from hypothetical future quantum computers, while Gemini is reading that exact same email right now to schedule an Uber to the airport. The fortress has a backdoor built by the architects. You drop $12,299 to feel visually secure from the subway passenger while surrendering total digital access to the algorithms.
Commodifying privacy as a visual feature addresses the social anxiety of being observed by strangers in public spaces. The software includes AI-powered call screening to identify unknown callers and privacy alerts to notify you when apps attempt to access precise locations. The phone protects you from physical observation while expanding its own direct observation of your habits.
I pay a premium for a screen that blacks out my calendar notifications, while the AI assistant reads those same notifications to book a restaurant reservation. The visual privacy acts as a physical distraction from the algorithmic access. We hide our screens from human eyes so the machine can read them in peace. Acquiring this surveillance fortress requires a financial commitment that forces consumers into long-term behavioral locks. The base 256 GB model carries an MSRP of $12,299.
Analyzing the launch deals reveals a strategy designed to tether users to specific networks. Samsung dropped their direct trade-in values from the pre-order peak of $900 down to $720. Buyers who missed the pre-order window immediately lost $180 in value. The trade-in values continue to drop as the weeks go on. Consumers must seek out alternative financing options to acquire the device.
Receiving $1,300 in monthly bill credits feels less like a discount and more like signing a 3-year mortgage on a rectangle of glass.
Exploiting that high MSRP to trap consumers in a 36-month cycle is precisely what the carriers do. T-Mobile demands you upgrade to their experience beyond tier. You get the hardware at zero initial cost, but pay a massively inflated monthly service fee.
And AT&T takes a different route, offering $1,300 in bill credits with an eligible trade-in. They divide $1,300 by 36 months and credit your account $36.11 every single billing cycle. Verizon offers the phone for $5 a month over 36 months, while Best Buy tosses in gift cards to compete.
Spreading the cost across 36 months guarantees carrier loyalty for 3 years. Telecommunications companies use the hardware as a loss leader to secure long-term service contracts. Retailers attempt to compete with immediate gratification. Amazon includes a $200 gift card, bringing the effective price to $1,099. The financing structures obscure the true cost of the hardware.
You decide to switch networks in 2027, like you try to leave AT&T in month 24. They cancel the remaining credits and hand you a bill for the unpaid balance of a phone that is already outdated. You sign a contract until 2029 to own a device that reads your emails, suggests your photos, requires a built-in cooling system to handle the workload, and tracks your location. We finance our own surveillance. The carrier deals mask the reality of the transaction. You are buying a $12,299 tracking device on a payment plan.
Committing to a 36-month cycle alters consumer behavior on a fundamental level. The user accepts the invasive nature of the AI features because they perceive the device as a free utility. The financial lock-in forces them to utilize the hardware to justify the long-term contract. They adapt to now nudge and now brief because the device becomes a permanent fixture in their daily routine. They surrender network flexibility for a $5 monthly payment.
We spend 3 years locked into a contract to have a machine draft our messages and edit our photos. Society is actively hunting for the linguistic fingerprints of those exact messages. Editing your emails to pass human inspection feels like intentionally dirtying a new pair of sneakers so people think you actually run.
Providing a strict manual for this precise deception is the entire purpose of the leaked My Writing Guardrails 2026 edition document. Human writers are instructed to avoid specific punctuation marks. Studies show GPT-4o uses 10 times more em dashes than GPT 3.5. The frequent correct usage of an em dash with no spaces around it acts as a primary indicator of machine generation. Semicolons and Oxford commas are also heavily restricted.
We engage in a bizarre cultural Cold War. We use the S26's Photo Assist to flawlessly fake our vacation photos, generating missing objects, fixing lighting, removing shadows, and blurring backgrounds. We demand perfection from our images, then pivot to our email app to purposely insert rhythmic errors and chaotic sentence lengths so our boss thinks we are human.
Demanding structural chaos is the core of these guardrails. Symmetrical paragraph lengths are banned. The human writer must avoid consistent visual formatting.
The document explicitly calls out the burstiness problem. Explain what burstiness actually measures in text generation.
Burstiness quantifies the variation in sentence length and syntactic complexity within a specific document. Machine learning models generate text by predicting the highest probability next token. Calculating the most statistically probable path naturally results in a consistent, highly predictable rhythm. The sentences cluster tightly around 15 to 20 words. Humans write with chaotic unpredictability. A human writer will drop a 2-word fragment, then immediately follow it with a sprawling 40-word sentence loaded with dependent clauses, tangents, and structural errors. Faking human communication requires intentionally breaking the rhythmic perfection of the artificial intelligence.
The vocabulary bans expose the absurdity of corporate communication. You cannot use verbs like spearhead or foster. You cannot use formal connectors like furthermore or moreover. We finance a $299 device with a customized Snapdragon processor to make us sound smarter, then spend our afternoons removing the smart words so we sound like slightly sarcastic humans who make mistakes.
Historically, valuing the precise structural patterns the AI now produces perfectly was the hallmark of corporate communication. Symmetrical paragraphs and professional vocabulary operated as the standard of a good employee. The arrival of the S26 Ultra forces humans to abandon professional polish to prove their humanity. They must adopt a casual, flawed voice to evade detection by the automated scanners hunting for AI tells. They are forbidden from starting consecutive sentences with adverbs or stacking qualifiers.
The S26 Ultra features Creative Studio to turn a rough sketch into a polished piece of art. The machine cleans up our physical reality while we take the digital text and mess it up. The phone uses the 39% NPU boost to remove the crease from your scanned PDF using Document Scan, producing a flawless visual reality. You open your messaging app and intentionally misplace a comma so the recipient knows you have a pulse.
Altering text to pass as human invalidates the primary selling point of the S26 Ultra. The device is engineered to reduce the steps between intent and action. Now Nudge drafts the response automatically. The user manually intervenes to dirty the text, adding steps back into the process. The hardware fights a cultural resistance to its own output. The Guardrails document explicitly bans contrast phrasing. Escaping these patterns requires a conscious effort to write poorly.
You read the auto-generated email, you delete the high-alarm adjectives, you add a sentence fragment, and you hit send. The machine does the heavy lifting, while you provide the required human camouflage. We perform humanity for an audience of algorithms. My boss uses an AI to read my email, and I use an AI to write it. I have to make it appear like I wrote it so his AI thinks a human is talking.
Conflicting directly with the terror of being perceived as automated is the desire for automation. The consumer wants the convenience of the S26 Ultra's proactive assistance. They want the device to check for calendar conflicts and draft the reply. They fear the social consequences of sending that reply unedited. The technology outpaces our cultural acceptance of its output. The hardware stands ready for total automation, while society actively rejects the linguistic evidence of that automation.
We demand our hardware be impossibly smart, yet we study manuals to ensure we appear appropriately flawed. We are trapped between the desire for total automation and the terror of being perceived as automated.
Mapping the trajectory of these tools reveals a strange endpoint. If our phones proactively auto-generate our messages, and the recipients use their own devices to automatically summarize those messages, the humans drop out of the loop entirely.
Two Galaxy S26s are just talking to each other in the void, while we sit quietly staring at a blacked-out privacy screen. Goodbye.